All right, we're ready back. Thank you, everyone. The next item on our agenda is business arising from public information meetings of March 5th, 2025. And I believe, Will, you have some information about that?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So this application is on Wentworth Road and submitted by Irving Limited, which proposed to develop multiple commercial buildings through rezoning and development agreement process, and also as well as rezoning land to accommodate future residential development. So we held a public information meeting on March 5th, and it was well attended by members of council and members of public. And right now we are still in the comment period, and if public have any questions or feedback, you are welcome to reach me through email at whong@westhand.ca, and we just request those be submitted before noon on March 19th. Thank you.
Any specific questions for Will? Jane?
Thank you, through you, Chair. I'm just wondering if there's any indication on what is going to be happening with the old Kent building?
Through your chair, I will probably direct this question to Carrie.
Through your chair, we aren't aware of their plans for the existing building. It's not part of this application or something we consider.
Nothing further then? We'll move on. Business arising from the minutes, file updates. File updates were sent with your agenda packages. Does anybody have any questions on these files? Councillor Ivey.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just to the earlier question, as it sits there, the Willow Street Hansport, is that file done and resolved? Is that able to come off the agenda, or is that a?
Yep, through you, Chair. Apologies, that must have been an error in the agenda, as that item was intended to be removed from both the agenda and the file update. So apologies on our end for that.
No, it's. I just wanted it to be clear so that we're not, or anybody that's following it. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
No further questions on any of those files. Building and development activity reports.
Excuse me, Chair.
Oh, sorry.
You had 2 item agendas added in that section, one for me and one for Guido.
Okay, I have okay. Okay, so I've got several here. There was a committee question and answer opportunity. The name change in the committee, cell phone towers, and the 9 p.m. ending of the meeting.
Right. So I'll go first if I can. So what I'm suggesting is to have a permanent item added to the agenda under this section called Committee Question and Answers. Currently, there's no opportunity to create dialogue on anything new if it isn't already on the agenda. And this section would allow committee members to add a discussion point for the following meeting and give other members and staff the time to be prepared for that discussion. It would also be similar to the current dashboard council has available to them, where questions have been posed to staff and they may need additional time to provide the answers. And without a comprehensive list of what those questions might be that are coming back, sometimes they get lost in the business of the day. And just going back over the last year, I can point to 4 that still haven't been answered. So those kind of things would go in this list for committee question and answers. On the bright side, or a positive note, is one of the things we did ask of staff was that if they were able to, on the website, create a menu for developments and rezonings that have been going on and their status. And that currently is there. Under departments, you go to planning, and then you go down one further, And you can see all the developments and the rezonings that have come before this committee and council all the way back to 2021, which is great. I think whoever took the time and energy to do that is greatly appreciated. It needs to go one step further. And I can, if we want to do this for next meeting, I can say we'll discuss the next step forward at the next meeting, or we can talk about it now. But that's the whole intent of the committee question and answer, was to be able for individual committee members to add an item for discussion at the next PAC meeting.
Guido?
Thank you, Chair. I found this an excellent idea, often because as a group, we create, speaking together, new thinking. We create new knowledge often. So it's actually a great opportunity to add something at the end, a new idea that has just come about, instead of giving that birth before we begin and say, I'd like to add an agenda, which often happen, and it's the normal rules of order to do that. I find this item to be very helpful. That's the first word comes to me. So I definitely second that idea.
Okay, any other comments on that idea?
Just asking Carrie if that needs to be a motion from this committee, or can that just be added as an item?
Mayor Zabian?
I think it can just be added, Director Fugere. I don't think council would need to change the setup of the agenda or anything. I think it can just be added as a courtesy to this committee, what it wishes to do as a heads up to the committee. It's a good thing, actually. So I think it could just be with nods of committee heads. I think you're fine.
Just, Jane, if I might, just for my own understanding, are we talking about a session where if a member of the committee has a question that may require some investigation or whatever, you would put the question forward at that time, and then at the subsequent meeting or whenever, that question would be addressed, versus just a 20-minute Q&A session flying back and forth across the table?
Yes and no. It happens that during discussions of development agreements or rezonings, we ask a question. I'll give you an example. Sure. When Planner Will was doing the Housing Accelerator Fund, the question was posed to him: has any developer approached the municipality about the phased-in tax assessment under Bill 177? And he said he would need to come back to this committee. So that's that kind of question. It's something in the course of discussions that needs to come back. So we would add that as an answer that's still to come back to us. And then the other would be if we want to create a new item for discussion at the following meeting.
Perfect. That's great. That's what I thought. Councillor Ivey.
Yeah, I just want to add my voice to, I think it is an excellent idea. And on some committees, they call them a committee roundtable, or in some agendas, you'll see notices of motion if you're thinking that motions may come, and it could become a catch-all where, you know, if you've got something that you want to bring that you thought of, but it didn't make the agenda, and it comes up, you know, when you're reading material, then it's sort of a reminder to all of us. If we've got something that we want to have brought forward a month from now, I think it's a really good thing, and whatever you call it is good with me. I think it serves a purpose. So good idea.
Guido?
Just to reiterate how good the idea is, for instance, what I had to do at the beginning, hoping to be in time for it, because I was late, sorry about it, is the item of the cell phone towers. That could be, in fact, a proper item for this kind of a committee Q&A, and say, I would like the next agenda to have a small discussion to begin talking about cell phone towers and their effects, or whatever it is. Thank you.
Okay. So that will be added as part of our ongoing going forward. Another,
just a technical question.
Absolutely.
So just a point of order. Do we need to pass a motion? And no.
No, I don't. I think the direction we've had, we can just make that adjustment. So there's several items here. We'll try to get through them all. The next one I have on my list in no particular order is a name change for the committee.
Sure.
You can take that.
Yeah, for the just simply adhering to what the Planning and Heritage Advisory Committee is called now, I'd like the acronym to reflect that. And two simple reasons, and meaning the acronym to be PHAC, Planning and Heritage Advisory Committee, instead of PAC-HAC, because PAC-HAC implies that we have a Planning Advisory Committee and a Heritage Advisory Committee. Meanwhile, we are one advisory committee for both lending, for both development and heritage and planning. And as such, I would request or move to call write the acronym as PAC with this implied H in between, PHAC. And that's in fact how it's written in every document. It is written Planning and Heritage Advisory Committee. The reason for that is because I personally don't like the word hack. I found the word hacking, the verb of hacking something, disgusting as the word secrecy. JFK found disgusting the word secrecy. I found both disgusting the word hacking. I don't like the word hack. I found this not a noble profession to hack something, to connect to something unknown. So PAC-HAC has that sound. In English, your sounds are very confusing. In Italian, we are very specific in our language. You cannot make confusion. In English, that's possible. So I come from an Italian background, and in Latin, everything is very specific. That's why I would like to eliminate the word hack from our committee and have a simple PAC. And often people already today refers that to PAC, like PAC, eliminating the H quickly. All people I spoke about committee and council in the last month referred to me back as PAC, forgetting the heritage part. So I move to call it PAC, PHAC as an acronym instead of PAC-HAC. Thank you.
Mark?
I appreciate the idea. I personally don't like FAC. is what it comes out to be, the acronym with the PH is an F.
I see.
Yeah, but I don't mind PAC, and that the heritage part is part of the mandate of the planning committee. If that's what everybody wants, I'm fine either way, but I would prefer it just to be PAC and move the heritage just under the mandate of this committee.
Thank you. Councillor Ivey?
So, we talked a lot tonight about procedure and proper. And so on this, which is a name change, and I think it's something that should be brought back with a report at our next meeting. And I just think, it's not to dissuade it. It's that's the right thing to do if we want to talk about that. I've got a very specific position that I take on the use of acronyms with everything that we do that doesn't talk about the name of the committee, talks about what we do, Planning, Advisory, and Heritage Advisory Committee. It's pretty clear about what we're dealing with here, but when you get to a PAC-HAC or an, AAC or a CAC, and we're no longer telling people what it is that we do, they just know that we've got a lot of acronyms flying around. So it's a different conversation, but on the point of, I think we really need to have this come back for a conversation, and if there's a motion attached to it, so we're not trying to make a decision on the motion just on the fly here, just as a comment.
Councillor Larry Pinch?
I will second what Councillor Ivey has just recommended for it to come back and report for the next meeting. And also, I think that means we would have to open up the terms of reference, correct? To change the name because the name is included within the terms of reference. Yeah.
So the name is included in the meetings, and sorry, I just had it. The meeting and committee procedural policy, which is a council policy. So it would have to be an amendment from council. And I would have to confirm this, but I believe they are sort of considered two separate committees. We often call it the Planning and Heritage Advisory Committee, but it is technically the Planning Advisory and the Heritage Advisory Committee combined into one large committee. So something worth considering.
Yeah, sure. As for me, I said I moved to, not intending to make a motion tonight. I moved to the idea that we adjust the name in a shorter, condensed way that possibly includes both, or simply simplify this term. And we imply the fact that we, in fact, have a heritage and we take care of it. Thank you.
Very good. Okay. The next item we have is cell phone towers.
Yes, I moved too. Very briefly, I would love the cell phone tower to become a point of discussion for the next meeting, immediately taking advantage of the committee Q&A if a reference, and beginning to bring forward scientific research in that regard. True that we can do very little. True that all this stuff has been decided in Ottawa, not even in Halifax. But true that as well as I believe that we should begin to grow from the grassroots up, we can begin talking about the impact, not only visual, not only engineering impact, but also electronic impact, because we are having radar in our neighbor. And there is a lot of scientific research today that is speaking about the effect of non-ionizing radiations.
So the goal would be to put that on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yes.
So submit that as an agenda item. So it
A small
it appears.
agenda item. The same way,
Okay.
if I may
Makes
add, in
sense.
the same way that we discuss about windmill, and we discuss about all the things we discussed, it doesn't mean that we could not begin discussing about cell towers.
Certainly, if it's on the agenda, then it would be open for discussion. Mayor Zabi?
Just so I'm a little unclear at this point. So is this going to come back as a report submitted by citizen member Furlani, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and the last item I have, timely, is the 9 o'clock ending time of the meeting that was suggested at the beginning.
I suggested only if the agenda was going nuts. Apparently it's not, and it was just limited to tonight.
If I may, Chair, just in the future, if committee is interested in ending a session early, I would suggest all new business and all development agreement applications or things coming from public info session be addressed first, and anything as an add-on or addition from a Q&A or something be at the end of the agenda, so the business that needs to go forward, goes forward, and it just can't be postponed.
I think that's reasonable, that if we're going to be shortening the meeting or setting a time, that we make sure that we deal with the time sensitive issues, whether that means moving them up the agenda or whatnot. I think that's reasonable. Councillor Ivey.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And I agree with the comments made by both you and the mayor. And I guess the question is procedurally, at council, we've got a procedure built in that if we hit 10 o'clock, then the mayor or deputy mayor will do a check with council to see if they want to. It's not often that we go long here. In fact, look here tonight where we really had some detailed discussions about some matters here, and we're coming in ahead of the 9 o'clock. And I would never have expected that we would have been, but it just seems to me that procedurally you want to probably have that structured somehow in there, so we're not on it really, you can't tell how fast or how long things are going to take sometimes, that it's you pick a time, you determine what it is. With council and committee of the whole, it's 10 o'clock is the time that we look to go, because you've got everybody here. So again, it may be something that's back on the next agenda for a decision.
Particularly from my perspective, that makes sense, that we don't set an arbitrary end time before we realize the depth of what we may be discussing. So I think if I'm familiar in broad strokes with the policy you're talking about, the council determines whether they want to continue, I think that would make sense to apply a similar mechanism here. All right.
So,
sorry,
sorry, Chair.
Reid.
Following on Councillor Ivy, which is a great suggestion, I'm not clear where we leave this item now. If someone can help me.
It would-
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, it would be a report back to Planning Area Advisory Committee. Looking at the terms of reference for the committee or under committee procedural policy as a recommendation to council to put 9 o'clock per policy of the Planning Area Advisory Committee to make a motion to proceed past 9 o'clock, for example.
Mark.
And just for clarity, what happens if we don't want to proceed past 9 o'clock?
I guess at the risk of playing devil's advocate, I'd say we would probably be wise, just my meaningless opinion here, that we don't adopt a different, if council has a policy, let's use that policy rather than adopt a hybrid policy for this. I mean, council's been dealing with late meetings for some time quite effectively. I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that. And I would stay till midnight, so it's not an issue for me. But as a group, if they decide, I'm just curious what happens if we have to come back for another meeting. Is there compensation for that, or is there compensation tied into it's one meeting in two parts? Or I just don't know what the clarity is on that.
Mayor Davies?
Again, terms of reference for committees, all committee members are provided their stipend or their allowance per meeting met. So whether council wants to add an additional PAC or Planning Area Advisory Committee on or not, that's for council to decide. There's financial implications. Again, it's not as easy as ending at 9 o'clock, for example. So again, if citizen member Furlani wants to put a report in and have this committee discuss and send a recommendation off to council and have council decide, that's the process. This committee is an advisory committee to council, not a committee to advise itself. So council has set the terms of reference and how it operates. So
KJ?
Just clarification on my end. So if council does have 10 p.m. comes up, you do hey, can we move forward? Can we not move forward? Can we just adopt that here at a 9 p.m. checkpoint where the chair just says, hey, it's 9 p.m. We still have action items on. Can we move forward? Everyone's in agreement. We move forward. Does it have I just don't see the necessary need of creating a report.
I guess what I'm seeing here in the document in front of me is, I'll read it verbatim because I don't have it memorized. A meeting of council or a committee of council, which is us, will adjourn at 10 p.m. So that's already determined. The meetings adjourn at 10 p.m. unless otherwise determined by this exact same process that council uses. So there is a policy in place. We're wanting to make a different policy at this. So that's just that there already is a policy in place that for if anybody wants to, and the policy would be that the meeting resumes the next business day at 6 p.m. Whether that's, there's a fair bit of moving parts, I think.
Chair, just as an anecdote, in all the time that I've been on planning, we've never had to go into the next day or defer to the next meeting. We were able to continue. And I think the latest we may have had a meeting would have been 20 after 9-ish. Definitely not too much later than that.
Okay, certainly. But if you want to bring some information forward for the next one, we can absolutely have it.
Not necessarily.
Absolutely.
I was an idea I had about containing this meeting that I saw on agenda that was ridiculous when I read it, and 261 pages of package, and then it turned out it was not the case. I was just speaking preemptively in terms of wondering if we had that agenda because we packed 2 months in one. and maybe it's not. I don't have a strong hold on this position. I am happy to go with the group.
Very good. All right, then back to the agenda items I have in front of me. Where am I now? Building and, did I do building? I did those, or no, building and development activity reports for January and February 2025. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the activity reports? There being no questions on those, I'll move on. Notices from adjacent municipal units. I believe we have one from the municipality of Chester. Can any one of the planners provide some detail on that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's included in the agenda package, but it's from the municipality of Chester. So they're looking to do a MPS and land use bylaw amendment to consider changes to distinguish between short-term rentals and other tourist accommodations in their policies and regulations. So if there's any comments.
Councillor Larry Pinch.
Through you, Chair, to Manager Fougier, is that something during the plan review that we will be looking at as well, potentially?
Through your chair, I don't believe it's on our list of things to do. Alex, I'm not sure if you recall, but it's something we can consider for sure.
I don't think it was part of our specific discussions to further regulate short-term rentals. I believe our current documents as of right now do not. The documents treat short-term rentals as any other residential use, and I don't know if there's been a direction yet to further examine short-term rentals as a separate entity. However, that being said, if that is identified as something that should come up in the plan review, staff would be happy to look into it.
I might just add as well, I'd have to look into a little bit more, but I believe there was also a report that went to council previously, whether it was last year or before, about regulating short-term rentals, and council made a decision on that. So I can definitely look into that and provide information back to this committee.
If you find it, could you circulate it? That would be lovely. Thank you.
Mayor Zabian?
Yeah, just on that point, council decided not to regulate short-term rentals and just continue on as normal.
I recall I think I attended a public information meeting at the old municipal building about that. And I think the appetite there was pretty straight ahead on not regulating them at that time, if I recall the mood of the room. So no further questions about that from the municipality of Chester. There being no members of the public present who wish to participate. Or Jane?
Sorry, not as a member of the public, but just going back to the committee Q&A, could I add a couple of items for next month's meeting?
Sure.
That being the standard operating practice for letting the public know where development agreements are, completed development agreements are rather, on that on the web page. And Carrie, if I could send you the list of questions just from last year that still haven't been answered, and just have those listed, and would give you time to come back with the answers to those. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Larry Pinch.
I was just going to add before adjournment that it's nice to be back here at this table with all of you. And I just wanted to extend our appreciation on behalf of council for your willingness to volunteer on this committee. And I look forward to the rest of the year.
And I'll throw it out there that it's been daunting chairing my first meeting, but thank goodness to staff. They were amazing. I reached out to them with a bazillion questions and they gave me twice as many answers. So kudos to all of them and thank you for your help.
Michelle,
Mark.
you beat me to it. I was gonna say you did a wonderful job your first night in the big chair. And
Nice wing.
I think when we voted, we made the right choice to put you as vice chair. So good stuff.
On that, this is knowing to quit while you're ahead. On that note, the next meeting is scheduled for April 10th, and staff will reach out if there's any changes. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Actually, I actually want to share that from the stance of the committee, as Kayla mentioned, it's a pleasure for me to be back with all of you in the committee, and I want to move a special thank to the population of the entire county, where many people came in and expressed their opinion, and that's the reason why we are here. We are not here because we just put our foot down. We are here because the people spoke. And that is what made me reflecting tonight when I talk about the principle of grassroots. And that's where my thanks go. And then all the reconsideration that the municipality has done. Thank you.
So did I have a seconder on the motion to adjourn? I know you moved it. That knowledge embedded in my brain, the meeting is